the Season 19 Town Hall meeting for the LGHL here on LeagueGaming.com. I am F5 Penguin, your host and media director for LeagueGaming.com, and I'm here with an irreverent group of people that I think this is a League Gaming first. I don't know. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce some people. We have alongside me Brody McDonald, the commissioner for the LGHL.
He's there. He says hi.
Yeah, I'm here. There's someone else's mic cut there, and I was like, I don't know what was going on. But yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to do this.
Fantastic. We have also Nuge. You know him as Nuge TV or Anthrax Dusted for those kicking it back to the old school. How you doing, Nuge?
Doing pretty well. Excited to talk about this.
As am I, as am I. And of course, the one and only, I mean, you make an appearance like there is a blue moon in the sky on these shows, the irreverent Tristan.
How's it going, gents? Good to be here.
So let's get things started. Tonight, we're going to be talking a couple of things, and it's important that we have the feedback and thoughts and opinions of everyone, because this is a tough time. We are placed in a tough spot where we now have to make decisions based on what the almighty Electronic Arts has done to us. EA Sports, what have they done? They've removed our hopes, dreams, goals, and ambitions for next generation. Things Tris and I were both working on for the future, as has everyone else, and that has been shot to hell. So, what does that mean? Well, it means we need to figure out what we're doing for next season. And I think no better way to start here than to open with Brody to give his insight on where we're at right now and what we're trying to accomplish here as we move forward in this next short 30 days.
Yeah, so like you said, we're kind of all pretty rattled by the information that we were given a couple weeks ago by EA Sports. So next gen is not an option for us. So tonight we're going to sit down. We're going to kind of bounce some ideas around if we stick with the current game or we move to the new game, and what's that mean for the league, how many seasons, and a bunch of different things. It's you pretty well hit the nail on the head. It's not going to be a really easy decision, and unfortunately we kind of have to make a decision based off of what's best for the majority of the league, so we can continue to play here and offer the experience that everyone knows and loves from League Gaming. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got to say so far, and it's this hasn't been an easy process, and it's been a lot of thought over the past 5 or 6 days for me as well regarding this topic.
Yeah, it's been pretty tough, and you know what sucks the most? Before we get thoughts here on Tris and Nuge here with all this, for me, being the guy that was told one thing and having another thing told to me, I just feel like the rug was pulled out under me. We could have prepared ourselves in the future. I could have, stretched things out, and here we sit, 5 days, 6 days after the announcement, and it's a weird, bitter feeling on my end, for to say the least. But Tris, your thoughts on all of this and how we move forward here?
Well, my thoughts is right now there's no perfect answer. There's not even good answer. It's either a choice of one or the other. There's no clear way to sort of decide, because on one side you have people that's saying, I'm not going to buy, I want to buy the next gen version. I want to stick to maybe the Xbox 360 NHL 14 version. Others are saying that are not going to go into next gen, that they're going to pick up NHL 15 anyway, and they want to use that. That literally is one of these things that's dividing the community, because there's no clear answer to go. So I mean, this is kind of the hardest thing. It's we have to pick our poison, but whatever way we go, we got to make sure we do it consistently and drag everybody with us that wants to come along. So
and you mentioned dragging people along. You here are running the Pro Series, and you have taken the stance, I believe, that you're going to follow suit with whatever the actual League Gaming Hockey League decides to do, right?
Yeah, there's no real reason to try to split the community any more than it might already be. So I figure whatever the league decides to do, the Pro Series should follow along. And like Tris was saying, there's no perfect answer here. It might not work as well as I'm hoping it will. And if it doesn't, then it might be something that, if it's not working very well, we revisit it when ESHL is back on next gen and the community's kind of back at the same point. Because when you're splitting up a community that's 24 teams right now, you could get to a point where there just aren't enough teams to successfully run a tournament like that.
Definitely. So we're at that point now where tonight is the night. We're going to spend, 45 minutes to an hour here answering your questions, taking your comments, concerns, curiosities, and queries, and we really want to get the answers. So how do you do that? Good question. You can tweet us using the hashtag LGHL, because Tris hasn't gotten me an official Twitter yet for the League Gaming. You can go ahead and comment in the chat box, or you can type here in the comment section on YouTube. We want your questions. We want to know how you feel, and I guess we should start off, Brody, here. A lot of people are on both sides of this, but everyone says 15 no-brainer, 14 no-brainer. It's really not a no-brainer. There's a lot of thought that we have to put into this to see how many people, what's the calculated risk we are going to take here, and then B, is it worth the risk depending on what we take? It's a tough call.
Yeah, it's extremely tough. I know, when we discussed several months ago that we were going to go to next gen, and we announced we're going to next gen, if you look at those polls, they were roughly 65% going with, 35 going not coming with us, obviously, because they didn't have an Xbox One. So my question always was, down the long road, right now especially, what is that other 35% doing? You see polls on the forums right now that talk about majority of the people want to stay on NHL 14, and I look at those people, who they are, and majority of those people are guys that were going to come to next gen. So I can understand where they're coming from, because they're planning on getting NHL 15 for next gen. Therefore, a logical thing for them is only buy one game and stay in NHL 14 for the season. But I look at other people, a guy that I played last season with, in Sebi, he wasn't coming to next gen, and he's kind of on the fence, and he's saying, well, NHL 15 is a newer game. It's kind of just the gradual progression I'm going to make. I spoke to a couple owners over the past few days, and AT43 said himself too. He was like, well, if we stay on 14, that's okay with me. If we don't go to 15, well, that's probably where I'll go as well, right? So it's very, very divided, and unfortunately, there's not the activity on the forums right now is really low, because we're in the Stanley Cup Finals, so majority of the people's seasons are over, and they don't stay tuned on the forums as much as possible, and unfortunately, that's our main way to communicate with everyone. So it's difficult this time to kind of get a real feel for what everyone wants to do. And even too, we all talk, there's nothing released for NHL 15, so that kind of makes us all kind of believe, well, it's probably just going to be the same game that NHL 14 is, but perhaps it's not. And it makes me kind of just wonder what the better option is. I know everyone was in favor of having the 82 game season, and unfortunately, in a 1 year calendar time, I can only give you 2 of those. So if that means that we only offer 2 seasons, season 19, season 20 next year, because we're just going to postpone the beginning of season 19 to kind of figure out how NHL 15 plays, or how NHL 14 holds up with the servers, and perhaps maybe that is the better option. I think it's important that we release as much information as we can to the community as soon as possible. But at the same time, I'm also kind of sitting here thinking about the process of all this, and perhaps that maybe we don't really have to rush a decision right now. But I don't know. Either way, everyone keeps saying the same thing, that Nuge talks about it too. We don't want to divide the community, and unfortunately, it will be a little divided completely out of our control, which is really disappointing. We all looked forward to jumping to next gen, and people who play FIFA go, "Wow, FIFA is amazing," and the football guys are saying football looks amazing, and us hockey guys are sitting back going, "Well, this kind of sucks. We're still on a console that's a year old." So. This is very difficult. You're right. I'm getting all kinds of different answers. I get 10, 15 PMs a day from people just with their concerns. I just got an Xbox Live message 10 minutes ago before we started from an NHL player, and his exact words were what you said, or NHL 15. It's a no-brainer. So it's really divided on what everyone wants to do, and it's really hard to make a decision until we actually try out a new game or kind of get a feel. Because if it turns out that NHL 15 is better than NHL 14, then perhaps it'll be a welcoming change. But if it's the exact same game and the puck's still going to bounce like it's fucking NBA, well, then maybe we just save everyone the $60 and we stay on 14. It's tough to make these decisions being in the situation we're in right now. So
let me ask you a kind of a loaded question. This question will also go to Tris too, if you want to answer as well here. Someone just said in the chat, Chivers here on YouTube, I'd assume more people would get NHL 15 than rather stay on NHL 14. Majority has to rule here to keep the league alive. Now, my question is kind of a play on that. What is it going to take to make a decision here? Do we, like you said, if it turns out that 15 is the same as 14 and the majority say go to 15, what do we do there? And then adversely, if it turns out in the longest shot, in my opinion here, and yeah, you can call me wrong if you want to, but in the longest shot here, that NHL 15 is leaps and bounds better other than the puck bouncing up in the air than 14, but the majority say I'm not spending another $60, then do we stay with 14? Like, what is it going to take?
Well, I'll jump in real quick. So there's two areas that you got to think about. The first issue or area is whatever we decide come first week of September, we have to stick with that for the entire year. That's basically, a year's calendar of season, right? Because you never want to get in the position where you ask people to buy two different copies of the same game, because that's just, that'll split the community faster than this is splitting it. The other thing we have to think about too is actually, what is best for LG? Because when this news first dropped, everybody was reacting with their emotions. Fuck this, fuck EA, fuck, they took away my favorite mode. But if we do one thing, we expose ourselves for other competition, other leagues to do another, to offer a different thing that we can't do. So we literally have to make the decision on those two sides, what's going to be good for the community and what's going to be good for the future of League Gaming. And so you have to make a decision basically in the next week or two and then stick to it. So and then to do that, to make that decision, we have to base it on what we know at that time. So as far as next gen, this is what we know about next gen. They never even got online team play into the version that they submitted to the platforms.
Right.
They had to patch that in. That means that they were way behind in schedule. So a lot of people were saying, oh, they took the EA Sports Hockey League out. They ran out of time a long time before they even looked at it. So what we know today is they say they're going to patch it in. It's going to be limited at best when that first patch comes out. The second patch apparently is going to have, it's basically going to have where you can actually make lobbies and have your friends on certain teams. So and even that might not be playable, and then we don't even know if that's going to be within the next month or 2 months. So we have to make a decision what we know for the rest of the year.
If I can add to that too, I always found that what makes these leagues the best are when the best people are in the prime opportunity. So in my opinion, if we make a decision and we get, say, 20 teams, and those 20 teams are like the 20 best owners we have right now, that is potentially going to be a better season than if we go with, say, 60 teams and the quality of ownership and management isn't nearly there. It's really tough because, yes, we don't want to divide the community, but we also have to make sure that the people that are going to come with us are going to be the people that can also commit to positions of responsibility. If you get to 1,100 people that want to play on NHL 14, but 4 of them want to be owners, well, you can't run a league like that either. You know what I mean? It's a very fine line between quality and quantity at some of these decisions as well too. And I've always said that what makes our league the best is because all the best players play here. And perhaps maybe I'm closed-minded and there's other people out there that are better than what we have here. But unfortunately, I don't see it on the end of the way. And what makes the NHL and LGHL the best is that's where the best guys play. And our AHL is just nearly as deep as well. I played in the AHL last season, and the quality of players and talent and management there is incredible. And I don't want to sacrifice the quality of the experience for other players. Unfortunately, I can't run 60 teams myself, and I can't ensure that every single person that gets put on a team has an enjoyable experience. But I get a say in who gets to be ownership and who gets to be management. And I think that if the quality people that are going to be in those positions make a decision to go to a game, then that has to hold some weight as well, because those are the people that are going to be willing to give the time to volunteer the time to run teams and organize games and really be the ones that keep this season going. As much as Triz and I sit here and talk about how much we really want this season to go and how the league's not going anywhere and we're going to do what it takes, we still need people to commit to us and to our, kind of follow in the same direction we're headed here and believe in what this is going to work, even though we were dealt a shitty hand that was completely not our control. We need people to buy into what we're doing and what's going to work, and we need to just move forward and pretend like this never happened.
So we have a good point. So we have our first question here from Bottomless. But before I get into that, I wanted to touch base on what you said, and I want to direct this to Nuge here. You said, quality of players, quality of owners, good owners, etc. By the way, everyone's making fun of you, Tris, for breathing into your microphone. I just want to point that out. Everyone's tweeting me and going ballistic over it. So I figure I'd just mention it.
Try to move away from my mouth. I'm a mouth breather.
Here's the question to Nuge. Some may argue this, but I respect you and believe that you are tapped into the quality community, let's call it that. Your take on how you're gauging this so far with the people that are around you and those who have voiced their opinions in your direction?
Well, so far what I've heard, there are a lot of players that have said to me, NHL 15 is the only option. If you don't go to 15, you'll lose a lot of the players, and I tend to agree with them. But there's also some people who I think will lose simply because they'll buy it on next gen, and then they won't be around on the current gen, and they won't buy NHL 15 on the current gen. But they would keep it around if they kept 14, or if we stayed on 14. So I think you'd get maybe more players if we stayed on 14, but they'd be less committed because they'd be like, oh, well, I didn't buy it, so I'll play a season. If it's not going well, I'll just go on my Xbox One. And I think that's what I've been hearing a lot of from the, I guess, the more quality players. But again, it's about everyone. If enough people are completely against buying 2 copies or completely against buying NHL 15 on the 360, then obviously you have to go. You have to go with 14 because everyone already has it.
Fair enough. Let me ask this question. I guess this is directed to both the founder of the website here and the commissioner, Brody. How will a decision be made if the community is too evenly split when it is decision time or beyond that already?
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I've been asking myself that same question for a while, and if it's for sake of numbers, say it's 50-50. Obviously, the safe bet, if it's 50-50, is to stick with 14 because everyone who wanted 15 potentially will still keep 14 to play. But if you go the other way and you go with 15, you're potentially losing half the people. It's really tough. And some of the valid points about going to 15 are about progression of the league. Like a lot of us that are talking here and a lot of us that have been in the league for a while, I guess you could say are some of the original guys. Like we started playing club and OTP and NHL 08, and then when they came out with EASHL in 09, we're the guys that started all this. But who's to say there's not a ton of 15-year-old kids that pick up NHL 15 for 360 and that's their first OTP experience, and those are the newer members to the league that are going to join, that are just going to pick up the newest version of NHL for the console they have, and potentially we're losing those members as well. And I don't know, it's really tough, and I'm just really hoping that more people voice their opinion and more people just give us more information, because the more opinions and things we hear, and especially when we put a poll up, it'll give us the opportunity to actually make a valid decision. You look at, we have 3,400 members here. If we put a poll up right now and we get 400 responses, that's clearly not enough to make any kind of decision on what's best for the entire league. And it's kind of frustrating, and I'm really hoping that once this is said and done and once the polls go up, I'm going to reach out to a bunch of members in the community, especially the management, because I feel I have a decent relationship with all the people from last season, to hopefully they can, even if they reach out to one other person or 2 other people that reach out to 2 other people, at least these people can come onto the website and show they care, or even if they don't care, put just what they think is going to work best for next season. It's really this is not a one person's choice, and I think the more we do stuff like this and the more that the community posts their opinions, the better it is. I go on the forums all the time during the day, and I'm reading what other people are saying. I'm just kind of absorbing all the ideas in, but unfortunately I'm absorbing all the ideas that are from the vocal members of the community, which are a small percentage. I just really wish that more people would kind of tell us what they want and tell us what they want to do.
I think you're right there, and I think I've had this conversation with each of the 3 of you on a one-on-one at one point or another, where we did 105 pieces of media for the league for season 18, which is pretty insane number for the media people. We put out a hell of a lot of content, and each time we'd see everywhere between 25 and 125 people. And I think I've said this to all of you guys, even for the LGHL PA, for the actual Players Association vote, we had less than a 20% response for the league. And to me, yeah, partially biased because I'm a media director, it's my job, but it was a slap in the face. We need more interaction and engagement from the league, and I think you all would agree this is more of an important time than any to make sure everybody says what they think and votes and decides, and helps us get to a point where we can look and say, okay, out of the 3,400 people, 3,000 of them voted. At least now we have a more than a majority idea on how everyone feels. anyone can chime in on that. That's up to you guys.
It's tough to get community feedback. I mean, that's always been the problem. And, we try to do our best to, to give them reasons to come to the site and whatnot. I mean, sort of to relate to that, I mean, we do force reads now. People don't even read the force reads anymore.
For example, there's a force read, right?
Well, you got to exactly, because I mean, there was like we posted the timeline of what we were going to do, and then people still sent me and Brody PMs saying, "Well, what are you going to do? Well, what's your options?" I'm like, "We're having a town hall. Why don't you come and be involved in that?" They don't read the force read, so I mean, the community, it's hard to make this decision completely on 20% or 15% of the community that speaks up. It's going to have to be mostly for the people at the top that make the informed decision based on all the information that we have, because we are the ones that are doing the research and the effort to put into this to figure out what the best way to go is. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at I have the Google Analytics on. I mean, when the playoffs start, the traffic dives by like 70%. I mean, you guys can all see it.
Yeah.
There's the postings down, the tweets are down, everything's down. So
yeah, everyone uses that as a break, and I agree. Like I've always really understood the fact that we're always going to hear from the same people, because those are the people that are passionate, and the passionate people tend to be a smaller percentage, and there's a larger percentage of people who just come to LG, play with their buddies, want to play sixes. But it's times like this where I really hope that everyone who is vocal will say to their friends, like, maybe it's time you go on the website for 30 seconds and post your opinion, even if it's click yes or no or something in a poll. Like, that's what matters. Because at the end of the day, the decisions we're making now are going to impact everyone, including those people that just want to come here and play sixes, who sign on the website twice a year for bidding to see who they went to, and that's it. And I understand those people exist, and that's fine. But the more people that come here and get involved in the decision making, the better it's actually going to be for all of us.
It's funny, Tris. They're talking in the YouTube comments about the traffic of LG when there's no playoffs, or when the playoffs start, traffic goes down. Well, now they're all golfing, so maybe traffic will stay, right? That's the idea.
But that's kind of what we're trying to do too, is kind of diversify the whole experience, because I mean, we can't put all our eggs in one basket. That we learned that this week.
So here's a question. The demo, I'm reading some posts here, and I was actually on this post before they posted it in the chat box. Thank you, JM. Title says, demo is available to download on Xbox Live right now.
I am currently downloading it, actually. So that is 100%
you can confirm
true.
this. Okay.
Oh, I better throw my Xbox.
So
are we saying 360 or one
Xbox One?
On the Xbox One.
Okay, Xbox
I'm gonna go
One.
do that. I'm gonna do that right now, actually.
Got
But
it.
yeah, no, it'd be nice. It'd be nice, like I said, if there was a 360 version. But even though since they're not doing that, it makes me wonder. Like everyone keeps saying, like, is 14 really the new? Is 15 really the old 14? Or is 14 really the new 15? And the more and more I say that, the worse I feel about going that way. But it's such a hard decision, because like what Nuge said earlier about people, yeah, I'll play 14. If I don't get my way, I'm just going to bounce. Well, that's such a reality, and people, there's no accountability sometimes in this league, and people just don't care about how their reactions and their actions are going to impact other people and their experience, and that's one of the unfortunate things. So like if we say, yeah, we're going to NHL 15, and all these guys go and buy an NHL 15, even though they have an Xbox One or whatever, at least they're going to have more commitment to the league, because they went out and bought a game on a system they're not even using anymore. Like, my intention's fully, like, I'm one of those guys, well, I don't have a lot of time, and the time I do have, I spend on this league, and I literally, when September 9th rolls around, I put the new NHL game in my tray, and it stays there the entire year.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'll take it out and I'll play Call of Duty because I get bored, and I trade that shit in usually within a couple weeks. But my full intentions were to keep my Xbox 360 so my girlfriend can watch Netflix nonstop while I'm on my Xbox One. Well, unfortunately, my Xbox One is the one that she's going to be watching Netflix on because of decisions that are made. And we just really need people to voice their opinion, one, help us make a decision, and then stay committed to this. Like, we volunteer so much time, and not even talking about myself and Triz. Like, I'm talking about like the 30 people who I'm going to have to talk to in the next 2 to 3 weeks and say, I want you to be an owner. You're a quality person. This is what I expect of you. Those people are committing so much more time and are being exposed to so much more drama and bullshit commitment than I ever have to see. And it's difficult to be able to do that when I know that the support of the community isn't there for our owners and our managers. And without quality owners and managers, we can't have a league that runs properly.
Yeah, it's tough. And we have so many unknowns, like you said, Brody. We don't know what that game's going to look like. And I think that's the hardest part. If we had more transparency and more accountability from EA Sports, we'd be able to make much more of a logical decision. It wouldn't have to, drag this thing out so long. There's so many unknowns, so many things we won't be told until launch day, and I feel like that in itself is insulting enough to the players who play the game, let alone those who support the game.
It's almost like they don't care about us.
It feels that way a little bit, doesn't it?
It is that way. We're a small blip in the giant pie. A small blip.
And the game NHL is a small blip in the EA pie.
Exactly.
In the EA Sports pie. And then EA Sports is a small blip in the EA pie, so it just even goes down from there. So
you're a small fish in a small pond in a small pond in a small pond.
and that's terrible. That's terrible. I think it's tough, Nuge. I don't know, man. Most of you guys have probably read my letter. I waited 36 to 48 hours to write it, and another 2 days before I posted it because I wanted to be level-headed in my love letter to NHL. And that's let's call it what it is. It's a love letter.
And you're from Florida too. You have no allegiance to hockey.
I'm from Jersey. From Jersey. I live in Florida now.
You actually admitted that?
Yeah, why not? We're all letting the honest truths come out at this point. We're all together here trying to figure this out. We're all in pain. Let's support each other. That's the idea.
One thing I'll say about moving forward is, I find that if we sort of set the tone and sort of set the path, a lot of people will, I wouldn't say follow, but make their decisions around that. I mean, that's one reason why we said that we were moving next gen back in I think it was April. It's because we wanted to let everybody know, 8 months down the road, this is the future of we want to, save your money. This is what we're going to do. This is where we're going to lead the community. And a lot of people bought Xboxes in August and July, especially when the Kinect was removed. A lot of people bought it because they were thinking about, the new season coming up.
You single-handedly rose Xbox stock, Tris. How do you feel about that?
Well, I actually feel that, there's 3,000 people that we potentially moved to Xbox. Because, you got to remember, back in the E3, I think it was last year, everybody was talking PS4. It was PS4 this, PS4 that. Why aren't we moving to PS4? I don't want to watch TV on my Xbox. I don't want all this stuff. Everybody, PS4 had so much more momentum. And then everybody gave us shit for that. They said, why are you moving to, Xbox, move to PS4? It's because everybody in our community is already on the Xbox platform, and plus PlayStation got hacked again yesterday.
Yeah, they're still down. So that's
not that I'm anti PS4. I have a PlayStation. All that. Last of Us was great, but to drag a community that way would be just disastrous for us.
Let me ask you this question, a way to drag the community here. I got a question from James LeBlond in the chat box.
Is he the anti-Leaf fan? If so, I don't want to hear from him.
This is important, though. I'm going to ask this question anyway to you, Tris, and then, Brody, you can chime in here, too. Why don't we do some form of, quote, KHL league and separate it from the LGHL World Stats History, etc.? Maybe you separate 14 and 15. Why not do that? And I'm not asking from my side. I know the answer. But for those who don't know, why not have two leagues?
Sorry, is that a question for me?
Yeah, you and Brody. We
have the technology to do it, but you got to grow it out. You got to remember, season 16, we went from I think 17 teams or 18 teams. We went from something like 16 teams, I think it was in season 16 to we had 30 NHL, 30 AHL, and I think we had 42 CHL. We're growing. We were still in the process of growing. We had 3,400 members in season 18, and we had 3,200 the year before. We are still growing. Everything's a possibility. I think the main thing we were trying to grow was the CHL.
Yeah.
And I think the CHL makes more sense if you kind of grow that out. And then, if you want, you can have another separate league where it could be the KHL and stuff like that. But you got to figure out how does it relate? Is it an offset league? Is it 30 new owners or whatever new owners that are completely in their own little island, or is it connected somehow? So, small questions. Those are big questions that make a big difference. So, but I think the original plan of growth again was the CHL, and now that's going to take a big step back.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's tough. It was tough to make the call to go to next gen. Now it's another tough call. Let me ask you, Trace, is there an honest to God threat out there right now as far as a competition on your radar that you're worried if you make a certain decision, is there somebody else that might take the throne?
Well, there's always that league everybody came from.
Like I said, real honest threat though, Trace. That's what I was asking. Real honest threat.
I don't think there's an honest one because I think the technology we have, I think the mobile app, I think just the fact that you have a scheduling system where it's not a forms. I think, you know, the power rankings, people love to shit on the power rankings, but they all fucking tune in on Saturday to see them. I think there probably isn't a real threat. Also, our leadership. I mean, Brody and our team are 30 great owners. I mean, there's probably not a real threat, but at the same time, you expose yourself, and especially if the community gets cut in half, you expose yourself even more. So I wouldn't say it's a real threat, but it's still a threat.
So some leagues already made a decision. Some people chose we're going 14, some already going 15. Is it too early to make that call? I mean, that's why we're here, right? It's too early to really make that call, but we need to make the call soon. And I don't know how they made that call.
The more and more I think about all this, the more and more I think that we should just kind of wait. Like this is my 10th season, and like 10th season being like part of league staff in a league of this size, and I look at, from my past experience, the first season tends to be the, you know, exciting kind of, oh, it's a new game, let's get used to it. But it also kind of gets midway through the season, everyone goes, oh, the new Call of Duty game's out, like I don't really want to play NHL. So the first season tends to be like not bad. The second season tends to be the most competitive because everyone has their cards, and it's like in the depth of the real NHL season, and it tends to be like more competitive because those of us who are like, who love the sport of hockey tend to be more in tune with hockey around that time. And then we all can agree that the summer season tends to be dropped off where, you know, maybe some of the more talented guys don't have as much time due to summer jobs or internships or whatever it is, right? So we tend to lose some of the better known people during the summer. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of think that if we delayed our response until we all kind of got a feel for what's out there, we could potentially run maybe 2 seasons in this game, so we cut it a little bit early for next year while we run into next gen, and then we take a break. You know, maybe it's a month break before NHL 16 drops, but we got 2 quality seasons in instead of maybe 3 half-ass ones.
I just want to say, breaking news right now, Avamit says the demo sucks. So I don't know if that's a good thing or bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell with him. It really is.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Let me
Yeah.
ask you this then. What do we do? Do we put the poll up now and have people vote all the way through, or do we wait until the game comes out for a week? Like, what's the call?
See, I wish the forum option would allow you to take your vote back and re-vote, right? But it doesn't want to do that. So once you click 14 or 15, your decision's made based on that poll, which kind of sucks. Which makes me kind of just want to, I don't know, maybe let things roll out. Like the demo's out now, and maybe the demo does really suck, like everyone's saying. And then, you know, the early release, I think, is what? Is it next week that you can get it for NHL 15?
The 5th or 4th, depending. I think it's 5 days ahead or something like that.
Yeah, so then that's only next week where you could get an NHL. If, like, I know myself, I checked my season ticket today, and I'm just going to be able to get it before it expires. So that potentially could give us or a handful of people this to try the game.
I have a question first. Can you play the Xbox version, Xbox 360 version on early access?
Yeah.
You can, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not
season
on
ticket.
access. It's on the old season ticket.
Okay,
it's on the old season ticket.
So sorry, to answer your question before, Nick, about when we make the decision, I want to make the decision before people have a chance to buy the game, because I want to have that decision before September 9th so people can make their purchasing decisions. If we say we're sticking on NHL 14, then people can just not buy NHL 15 for Xbox 360. That'll save some people some money. So I think you got to sort of make the decision, you know, before people are actually buying the game.
So let me throw this possibility of a scenario out here for you guys, and let me know what you think. We put out a poll right now that ends on, let's call it next Tuesday. We give everyone 8 days to chime in initial feelings and thoughts. We have to make sure, obviously, not everyone's educated enough to understand this, but I'm going to say it anyway. People need to understand to throw out the unknowns. We can't decide on unknown things that we may never find out. We can't, you know, decide on servers. We can't decide on physics. We don't see the game. Initial feelings, what do you think? Go. You vote. And then we put up another poll from, let's say, the 4th through the 8th.
Right, when people can actually play it who have early access. I think that's really going to tell us a lot, and that's why in our timeline we actually had that date there. September 8th was when we're probably going to make the call, because I think one of our biggest fears is let's be honest, NHL 15 Next Gen, they barely, squeaked it through submission. They left out a lot of features and patching in features. That's the first time I've ever really heard EA patch in a feature that they were supposed to put in post-launch. So, if they had that much little time, or they were that jammed to get the Next Gen version in, how much time do you actually think they put into NHL 15 for Xbox 360? I can't imagine too much.
I personally feel, and again, my credibility is at risk here, but whatever, that it's going to be like a cut and paste. It really does feel that way.
And that's what I feel too. And then if we're asking people to buy it, we've just done EA a huge favor. Not that I care about that, but at the same time, we've rewarded them for, like you said, a cut and paste, at a $60 cut and paste when, most iPhone games are $3, and that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, and I think you have to put away the people who didn't pull their pre-orders already. We can't really control them. We can't really control people who are going to pick it up midnight. That's going to be their own decision regardless. I think the people that want to know what we decide are going to wait to buy the game. Like, for instance, my brother is going to wait until we decide, hey, if we're going to go to NHL 15, then he's going to hold on and pick up NHL 15 when you make the call. Otherwise, he's going to stick with 14. I think there's a lot of people like that. They're going to wait for what the powers that be say before they drop their cash. And that is cash to drop. That's the frustrating thing is we're going to put accountability of $60 in the hands of people to make them stay, but do you want to force people to stay through their wallet? That seems very American.
I also want to say that someone just pointed out in the forums that for Canadians, it is $69.99 for the Xbox 360 version. Plus, we get jammed, at least Ontario people, we get jammed with 13%. You're looking at $80 for a game.
Do you want to do that? Like, do you want to do that? And to me, the answer for me is no. At least personally. I'm not speaking on the league's behalf. For me, it's not.
All right, let's get another question. Anybody in the community have something that they want to sort of jump into this, that they want to ask us what they're feeling?
Everyone's kind of just in that same boat of everything we're saying. There's
nobody's decisive enough to.
Yeah, isn't it like it's just frustrating, and I can't blame anybody for that because we're all.
I do have a question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Brody.
I actually have a question for Nuge. Like, I agree with, obviously I've known you for a bit, and I agree that you are in the upper echelon of the community of talented people, and I just want to know, like you just said recently that like you're in favor of NHL 15, and I personally, like, I'm really indecisive. Like, depending on what day of the week it is, depends on what game I want to use too. So, from your perspective and like your conversations with other top end players who want to go to 15, what benefits do you guys see to going to 15?
I think the main benefit is outside of this league. Obviously, there's way more people playing this game, way more people playing ESHL. And honestly, not that many people, again, outside of this league, have picked up their Xbox Ones yet and stuff like that. So I think you'll see a lot of people making the transition to 15, like, without really having this whole big decision-making process on the 360. So if we want to have the outside, like, if someone, like you were saying before, like, some kid picks up NHL 15 and their first OTP experience is NHL 15 on the 360, we're never going to be able to, like, have that person join our league. And at the same time, a lot of the ESHL clubs that also might not know about this league or don't really have time for this league, they'll still be on 15 and stuff like that. So you'll have a lot of the community shifting to 15 no matter what we decide, and we'll lose that whole community if we don't move with them. And I feel like we might be saving, obviously, some of the people in our community some money, and we might be keeping some guys around that might not stay. But are those guys really going to be committed to the league if they have an Xbox One and they have all this other stuff going on that they couldn't drop $60 on NHL 15 on the 360, or if they're not willing to keep their 360 around or whatever it is? So that's just my thought process.
I hear you, Nuge, and I 100% agree with the opportunity to attract new people, but it just feels like a slap in the face to say, hey, I'm going to make you pay $60 more. $70 more,
$80
just to keep you around. And everyone is important. I feel that everyone is important. Everyone here makes the league what it is. Without all 3,400 people, we don't have a 3,400 person league. We have the other league, and we have other people, and we don't have that same conglomeracy that we do if we have these many people. So it pains me to tell somebody, and who knows who they are, we have people who are 15 years old to 45 years old on here. And if it is truly the same game, yet everyone's going to move anyway, what's to say to their economic state that they bought an Xbox One? They already bought an Xbox One. They can't return it. Let's just say it. Everyone bought them back in March April when we made the decision. They can't return that. And now we're going to say, hey, drop another $100. Do it, because you're gonna get your boost, right? You gotta get your boosts. You gotta pay for those. You gotta pay for those. You gotta pay for this. And I'm not attacking you in any way. This is not. I'm just kind of throwing the other side of the fence here. That sucks. I can't have any. I don't have any other words. That sucks, and it pisses me off that we have to make that decision because of actions beyond our control.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it could be worse. Obviously, this sucks. This whole situation sucks. But luckily, NHL 14 as a game was significantly better than 13 and significantly better than 12. In my opinion, obviously, there could be people who love 12 or whatever. But at least we're coming off of a game that had a few minor problems, but for the most part was very good for competitive play, especially in the ASHL. So if we are getting a very similar game, at least the game doesn't suck. Now, if NHL 15 comes out and they broke the game somehow, they made it worse, then obviously staying on 14 would make sense. And I don't think there's any argument at that point that you would move on to 15. But if the game is similar, with maybe a small improvement here or there, obviously you have the new like commentary or whatever, like some presentation stuff, then I think it'll have a fresh feel, at least for a little while. And I feel like that's almost worth at least part of your purchase.
Let me post
and then staying with the community would be worth the rest of it.
Fair enough. Let me pose this hypothetical to you because I like where this conversation is going. FIFA 15 wasn't really officially announced, but kind of leaked, and then FIFA said, okay, guys, you caught us. They're not going to have OTP in FIFA 15 last gen. They're only going to have it in the current gen. Yep. What if NHL is lying to us here? I mean, I know they said EASHL is included, but what if there really isn't any improvement and they just won't say it because of what FIFA had?
Thank God we have the early release, because those of us who have that option will be able to be like, oh, hey, where the hell is OTP? Because OTP is in the early release. Because if you remember the days of Darth Forsberg, he had his legend card before the game actually came out because he lived for it then. But now he got engaged, so shout out to Darth Forsberg for actually being engaged now. That's why he disappeared. Just try to get that in there. I just saw it on Facebook. That's why I had to say that. So, but yeah, no, I hear what you're saying though, because FIFA did do that, right? But that being said, like early release will give us kind of the options, and like what Nuge said, if the game ends up being better, and those these leagues stem from competitive sixes and EASHL, and I kind of think the reason why they got so big was the fact that the glitching and the bullshit of the EASHL and the meeting list that happened after NHL 09 didn't really give sixes much of a bragging rights, where these websites give people something to brag about. Obviously, if people are to the point that they're cheating in these leagues, right? So, I think that if the quality of if the quality members go one direction, it'll be very difficult for everyone else not to go that direction, because everyone likes the competitiveness of these games, right? And you keep saying the same thing, Penguin, and I agree so much that this whole situation does really, really suck. Like, it doesn't. There's no other way to really put it. Like, they kind of screwed us. We kind of thought there was potential for next gen that wasn't end up being there. And who knows? Like, what if NHL 15 on next gen is terrible? Like, what if it's totally not what we expected and it's not as good as it looks? Because like obviously the commercials and the stuff looks amazing. It looks like it plays wicked, but you can only play so much versus. And what if the game isn't very good anyways? Those people that purchase it for their next-gen systems, who are like myself and like to play NHL a lot, are probably going to purchase the newest game for their 360 so they can still stay in the hockey community and the hockey environment, because a lot of people are like that. They play hockey, and that's pretty well it.
And judging from what we saw at those leaked Gamescom videos, we're not seeing anything spectacular on 15 as much as we thought we would. So you're right. It could be terrible, and I'm afraid about that.
Yeah, it could not be much of an improvement. And like, I don't know. Like I said, I keep bouncing back and forth, because I do agree that it does suck that majority of the people may not want to go to this console. But realistically, if we can get past the emotional feelings and the anger and stuff, perhaps going to 15 on 360s, it's kind of gives us all as a community more time to get our Xbox Ones as well. Which means if hopefully NHL 16 has OTP and has club like they're saying it's going to, then when we decide to jump the next gen next season, more of us will be there. But I don't know, it's quality and quantity, and we kind of have to get the best of both worlds. And That's why it's important we do stuff like this. And I really hope that everyone that is actually listening and the people in the chat box that are active right now will talk to people that maybe aren't so active, so we can kind of get the opinions of all the people that don't usually frequent the website as much as normal, but still want to get their voice heard. Or maybe they're like what you said, they're kind of just sitting back, in the dark, in the shadows, waiting for us. Because I've had a couple people surprisingly say to me, are we going 14 or are we going 15? And my answer's been recently, I'm not really sure yet. And then their response has been, well, whatever you decide to do, I'll be coming with you. So I haven't seen that on the website anywhere. Not many people are really saying that, but a lot of people are kind of feeling that way, that they're kind of waiting, maybe to see what.
Let me take a poll with you guys right here. If the league made a decision to go with NHL 15 for Xbox 360, I mean, all you guys would buy it, correct?
I resign.
You resign, really?
I resign. Absolutely. I've said that in my letter.
Not me. I'm here. I'm here to stay for long.
I'll be here to stay as well.
All right, guys. Same answer to you guys in the chat box there. If we go NHL 15 for Xbox 360, how many of you would come with us?
I'll be here for the golf tour. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love you guys. I'm here for the golf tour. But I resign. I refuse to accept complacency and mediocrity. And a lot of people could argue, we are the blip, right? We are the trickle of the pie. But at the same time, if EA sees even flat sales going into this after the decision they made, which they know is going to upset people, and people still keep sales flat, they still do 480,000 plus, this is just reason for them to continue on doing the same thing they're doing. However, because it's a business.
You're fighting a noble battle here.
I'm not fighting a noble battle. It's proof that in game industries, a 1% loss sometimes ends up in the shutdown of a studio.
1%? Jeez.
Maybe that's what we need to see.
You want to shut down the studio?
I'm not saying shut down the studio, but I'm saying maybe things need to change. Maybe someone needs to come out of the top and get replaced. Maybe better decisions need to be put into place. Because people look at it, and Trish, you're a developer, the guys making the graphics aren't the guys programming the games. They're very different people. So they put so much effort into presentation and audio and the licensing for NBC. I feel like that's where a lot of the budget went. And they looked over the, let's call it 10,000 people that play EASHL. Maybe it's 23,000, right? I don't remember what those numbers are. I remember seeing them somewhere where there was how many players.
There's like 100 million active clubs right now, isn't there? And there was like 440 million club games in NHL 14.
There were 4 million club games this year.
4 million club games.
Something probably closer to like 50,000.
Okay.
60,000.
I didn't know how many players there were. I know there was 480,000 copies of NHL 14 sold across both consoles. That's the number I have.
480,000?
480,000, yeah. 480,000.
And NBA 2K did like 7-8 million.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So
then part of me wonders, though, like, I hear what you're saying, Penguin, and I understand that, like, I kind of agree with Triz, maybe it's the noble battle, but I guess you're kind of assuming that if there's a loss in sales like that EA as a whole actually cares about hockey. Like, I've kind of thought that maybe hockey, since they're Canadian, they kind of care about hockey, but I've also kind of thought that they care more about making money. And if a game like FIFA and a game like Madden make them a shit ton of money, they're just kind of only producing hockey just for the fact that they need a hockey game and no one else is really competing with them. I think if they take a loss in NHL, I don't think they're really going to care as much as we all assume.
Let's look at sub studios though, right? So you have EA Tiburon, which in Orlando here, which makes it makes Madden and Tiger Woods. And there was no Tiger Woods game this year. There was also no Tiger Woods title update number 2 last year because it was going to cost them $45,000, and they didn't make that many in sales for a quarter. So the EA,
that was complacency. That was complacency. They haven't done anything for that Tiger Woods brand for like 4 years.
They didn't, but EA is a subset of studios, right? So there's EA Vancouver. EA Vancouver is responsible for their own budget every year.
They're responsible for FIFA and NHL.
Right. They have their own stuff, but they also, there's their
FIFA's
own budget for each studio and each team in a studio. And if one team isn't cutting it, they shut down studios. EA Montreal is a good example of that.
Do you know what the real issue why the NHL franchise has probably gone down so much? NBA Live, because they moved all their resources to NBA Live.
Yep.
And they took most of them out of the NHL team because they wanted to compete with 2K and have a product because obviously NBA makes more money. So they actually started pulling resources, staff out of there. Because Littman actually left and went for I think he was doing the NBA 2K or not NBA 2K. He was doing the NBA Live. He was their top guy. And that's really what's been the downfall of the NHL series is they've they diverted their resources into that title that's it's still been pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean that's the frustrating thing is resources get moved from the lesser games, and this is the result of that.
Yeah, but you're only going to make it worse.
No, but see, there's a thing called a contract, though, right? So it's not like if we don't buy the game this year, and this again hypothetical. If we don't buy the game this year, it doesn't mean they're not going to include it next year. If it's on their plan to do it, they're already starting to do it. Like that's the thing.
It's not going to be NCAA basketball or NCAA football where they just stop making them. I don't think we'd ever see the day where there's not a console version of a hockey.
We're going to see a hockey game, whether we see a hockey game for.
I love the way you say hockey.
Yeah, I get yelled at that on my stream too. Leave me alone. We're going to see a game though, and we just don't know from who we will see it from. We know the following things: that there is a guaranteed NHL 16 that's in their contract. They've already worked on it. That's part of their thing. They have NBC for 2 years.
That could change at any point, though.
but I mean, they paid NBC for 2 years, right?
True.
So we assume it's safe to say that we'll probably see NHL 16 on from EA Sports. But what's to say we'll see NHL 17 from HB Studios? I don't know. Like, it's somebody else, not EA.
No.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, like you're saying, boycott NHL 15 because they fucked us, but NHL 16 is going to have what we want, and we're going to be probably back in fuller force for NHL 16 because all the guys that are going to sit back and go, like, EA, fuck me for 15 are going to want to play sixes. They're going to want to play next-gen hockey from 16, so the sales of 16 may be the highest they've ever had.
It could be, but that's proof that, hey, they put a feet... People don't look at it that way, though. You have to look at the bottom number, right? The people up top with the red tape, the bureaucrats, look at things from top-down approach. So if they see sales went down because we took out 4 modes, then sales went up because we put those modes back in.
On their way they're going to justify it is they didn't take out the modes. They didn't have enough time. They're just going to chalk it up to the transition in next gen, and it is that. That's what it is in the budget. So it's not really it wasn't them trying to sort of screw the community.
No, I don't think that at all. I don't think that at all. They definitely ran out of time because of the resources, like you said. But at the same time, this is the only sports game that gave an extra year to last gen. Everyone else moved last year, and they refused to. And everyone was pissed about that, but we accepted it. How much more are we going to accept as a person spending money? And most people listening now care a little bit of how much they're dropping money on things. It matters to them. Should we allow this behavior to continue? Not even as a gaming studio, not even as an industry or a community, but as a person who buys something. Why would you pay more for less?
Well, let me just sort of twist it a different way into a value proposition. So if you bought NHL 15 and you played in our league for 2 or 3 seasons, how many hours of entertainment is that?
Ton.
1,000, 2,000, 3,000.
Yeah.
If you're me, it's like 66 hours a week.
Yeah. So then, if you look at it at that, yes, EA's doing this and whatnot. But I mean, into the actual value you get out of it, where do you make the sort of the value proposition out of it? Is it not valuable at that point?
That's a good point. I see what you're saying, but the hours logged, like you said, take 2,000 hours times 3,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Millions of hours.
Millions of hours. And the step further from that is those same people are buying hut packs.
Oh, yeah.
And that's residual income. And that's a direct impact on their bottom line.
Well, I don't think they meant to take out EA SHL this year. It was
I agree.
A schedule thing.
Because I was told that it was going to be included.
Yeah. Someone actually told you that?
Yes.
What date did they tell you that at?
E3 LA.
Yeah, so they had their time schedule got fucked up way after that.
I agree. So, and I've never, with my relationship with EA, with my relationship with other studios, I've never been told something and signed an NDA for it to had it not happen. That's never happened. It might be a little different, might be slightly pushed back, but it's not like just been, nope, we're not doing it. So that it doesn't mean they lied to everybody in that room. What it means is they thought they were going to hit that deadline, and they didn't.
Yeah. So do you blame them for that?
I blame them for not allocating their resources and budgeting properly.
But I mean, at that point they had no time. I don't know. I've been in like I said, I've actually worked with 2K, and I was working with them when they took out the online or the cruise mode, and I know how that happened, and sort of the from the top down how it happened. Nobody was out saying let's remove features so we can charge people later or do this.
Right.
You know, there's fundamental changes in this case there was franchise code that had to be completely changed, and then doing all that in a 1-year turnover, which is really 8 months, and then you have your 2 months of testing and then your certification for a month. The turnover is just not there. Like, they literally cannot turn it over.
Right. I hear what you're saying. There's two sides to this coin for sure. And I've not worked on a game myself. I know you have, but I've worked in a software studio, and I've been part of this gaming industry for 7 years now. I've seen the good and the bad, the ups and the downs. And nowhere do I think that it was, let's screw the customer. But at some point, the customer has to stand up and say, we're not going to take this anymore, guys. We've been strung along for 5 years about promises that have never happened.
You've been taking it for a while now.
5 years of, we're going to fix this. The dressing room. We're going to fix the dressing room, guys. Don't worry. And that didn't happen. We're going to fix the practice mode. That didn't happen. We're going to fix the physics. That didn't happen. We were promised collision physics in 11. We're just getting it in 15.
As much as I agree with all that, though, like, I've kind of gotten over complaining about what they're going to give us, because I kind of realize that they're going to keep saying things to try to make people happy. But at the end of the day, the reason why I buy the game isn't because it's EA Sports. It's kind of because, like, I enjoy the involvement in the league. I like being part of this. I like the social aspect. I like, fighting with owners like Nuge, because they usually tend to be right. Like, I enjoy just the whole experience that we've created with this game. Like, it's this game. This could be fucking NHL shuffleboard. Like, I don't even care. Like, as long as it's the same people and the same personalities and the same passionate community that get together in the same place. Like, I don't care if this is fucking knitting 15. Like, it's just, I kind of like what we've done with their product that has made all of this possible. Like, it was pretty cool in NHL 9 when they were like, yeah, you know what, the top 16 teams are going to go to Vancouver and play for a championship. And then you watch the videos of, like, that domination kid, like, absolutely losing his mind because he, like, scores this, like, greatest goal ever. Like, it's cool to watch that, but once that kind of fizzled out, these leagues kind of stepped up and were giving people the opportunities. And then even you watch the videos Nuge posted of the Pro Series, and, like, that's doing the same thing again at a different level. And we've kind of taken this really shitty hand that EA has dealt us for like 6 or 7 years, and we made the absolute best with it. And that includes, like, Triz, that includes myself, that includes Nuge, that even includes all the little leagues. Like, you look at, like, the IHL and all the other smaller leagues that are just doing the same thing, having fun, and people are playing in those leagues. I think there's more people committing time to leagues and gameplay and this kind of community than there are really to EA SHL anymore. And I think that's kind of why I've gotten over the fact that they're probably going to disappoint me every year. Like, NHL 14 was good, and don't get me wrong, I'm on the ice like 5 or 6 times a week. Like, I started last week. I play a lot of hockey, and I know what it's supposed to feel like and look like. And 14, like Nuge said, was quite an improvement, and I'm happy with what 14 did. And if 15 is going to be just that much better, and the majority of the community wants to go to 15, I'm going to buy 15, even though I have an Xbox One that's going to sit in my girlfriend's room and not be used for anything else except fucking Netflix for the next year. Like, I'm going to do that. Because, like I said, the environment that we've all kind of created with this website is the number one reason why I enjoy the NHL game.
Oh, I love it here. I agree with you. It's miles ahead of where we were, Brody, and I know you'll agree with that for sure. And we've created this cool thing. Like, we're all part of this big, big, big picture thing. But, again, we're a blip in the bucket of the league, right? How many blips lose before it trickles all the way up. So I mean, there's both sides of it. I'm not arguing. I'm not sitting here to flame war each other. I just figured, why not bring another side to this whole thing?
Maybe this could be an opportunity, though, to basically actually, build closer ties into EA and the development. Like, for example, I mean, I've kind of tried to reach out to some of my people that I know actually work for EA. Yeah. I want to get into the part where we can actually sort of, do what I'm doing with the golf club, where we can actually get APIs and actually get stats and stuff like that. It sounds like EA right now. I've seen what Rammer's been saying on Twitter. I think Nudgy, he wants you to direct message him or something like that.
Yeah, I've been talking to him on Twitter about
this might be an opportunity for us to do what we do, but better. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of fucking hearing about people and their OCR problems. Yeah. If we can automate as much as possible, and it's not hard to do in this day and age.
I agree. There's so much opportunity, but how far are they willing to go to give us the opportunity? And so far, it feels like they don't care.
Yeah, because I mean, we are the people. We are the people that sort of enhance their experience. But they also, I think, one of the main reasons why it's been hard to get close to them, and why they have been, in your opinions, kind of shafting you guys, is because you guys are the guarantees. You're the guarantees buy. You're the 80. There's 80 or 90% of you are going to buy a copy of NHL 15 next year, and they know that. And they know that if they remove the mode that you guys play, but still buy the game, they'll still make their same sales. But on their marketing newsletters, they're going to put out all the new stuff with broadcasting and physics and stuff like that, and they hope that's going to make them the new customers, because that's what the regular media is going to pick up. It's going to pick up that new stuff. It's not going to pick up the stuff that this hardcore group now can't do. They made a marketing decision too. Like the features that they had to cut, they cut the ones that weren't,
of course,
they weren't there for their main marketing things.
Can't cut HUT.
We can't cut HUT because it was part of a pre-order, wasn't it?
Also that.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's their moneymaker.
People were buying a pre-HUT or a pre. It was in a premium version or some shit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
there's something where you can put extra money in at the start and you get some HUT.
Yeah, so they weren't going to cut that stuff. So I don't know. I originally I was like, oh man, that sucks for League Gaming. That sucks for everything we've been doing. But I understand the decision that they made. If I was in their boots, that's the decision that you make. It's that's just exactly how you have to do it. And they made this. They made the bed that they had to make. Don't really blame them. Now we have to go. For us, do what we have to do to make our thing work and. Make it the best possible solution we can out of this. So,
I agree.
If we have to pull some teeth, we pull some teeth. If we have to sort of bite our teeth for a full year playing NHL 14, we do that too. It's
damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Damned we do, damned we don't. Either way,
make a decision.
But this is where I do hope that the community, whatever we do, will at least embrace the decision that we make, maybe not flame about it like we're so famous for.
And that's why I wrote the letter the way I did, is because it wasn't going to be a F this, F that, you're gay, blah, blah. No, I'm like, okay, let's be logical. Let's be logical, and let's actually at least display our emotions in a reasonable and intelligent manner. And that's what this conversation was. That's what my letter was. And I hope that that's what the rest of you will do as well. Did I lose you guys? Uh-oh.
Nope, still here. Sorry,
okay,
just
cool.
muted my mic.
No, I'm still here too.
All right, everything clicked on me. Yeah, so that's what I hope is everyone else will bring to the table intelligence and logic and reason and help us make a decision. Because that's the idea, right? We're all trying to make a decision together. So I think a poll's going up tonight, and that'll last for a week. Tomorrow.
No, we said the 20. We said we did it specifically after the demo, so people could play the NHL 15 demo. We've picked these dates strategically.
Yep. So run through the dates here on radio, so those who aren't reading things that they should be reading, you idiotic people, will be able to understand what the dates are.
Okay, so obviously the town hall is happening right now for all your viewing pleasure, and then we're going to do the on Wednesday the 27th, which is Wednesday, not today. We'll put up a poll that's going to be basically a pretty straight poll: NHL 14, NHL 15, Xbox 360. Which version would you play for? By September 8th, we are then going to make an official call, hopefully, of which game we're going to use. So this is before September 9th. So if you guys have pre-orders and stuff like that, you'll still have time to, not buy the game, stuff like that. So that's basically our timeline. I don't know if we're going to have different polls. I mean, you said maybe have a poll after the September 5th launch.
I thought it might be a good idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just have initial reaction and then did you change your mind? That way we can see if the league actually shifted or if different people voted.
Yeah. The other thing we have to do too is, Brody, we have to open up signups. Maybe the signup will be like, by signing up today, you recognize that you'll be playing either NHL 14 or 15, stuff like that, because usually you need a good 3-4 weeks to sort of gather the herd again to sign up, because signups take a long time to get everybody going. Oh, Brody just left.
Oh.
Bye, Brody.
Yeah.
Bye, Brody.
So
we love you.
Well, the sad thing is this was our first chance to sort of have a full calendar year running. The LGHL. I was kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get it going quick. I know last year we tried to start our season. I think season 15 at that time. It's so hard to get it going in the first 3 or 4 weeks because everybody's playing EASHL. They're all playing their club and stuff like that. I was hoping to get it started earlier, but I mean, right now all our dates are
up in the air.
Up in the air, yeah. They're ETA,
That was-
unknown.
That was weird.
Hey, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. No, yeah, just like like you were saying about signups and stuff. Yeah, we should open them eventually, but I think we need to make a decision. Even to like post it, like my timeline had the owner applications today and stuff, so I took the time, wrote it all out, and then I posted it. And I thought maybe we should just kind of wait until there's some decision and some guidance. So maybe the signups can wait too. Like I said, if the whole season has to get delayed, it gets delayed. It's not a huge deal. I can schedule around a delay. So, and then we can give, like I said, quality over quantity. So if that means it's 2 quality seasons and rather than 3 half-ass seasons, then so be it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, one thing we got to consider is maybe that summer season on NHL 14 or 15 might be hard to run.
Yeah. And so maybe we do something different. Like
Yeah.
maybe we just don't do it at all, and we just kind of take a break.
Or do a 6-on-6 one on NHL 15 on Xbox One, just a one-off kind of league.
There you go.
Yeah, which we could do too.
Yeah.
So there we are. I think we'll leave it right here. I think a lot of good discussion was had. Any closing thoughts, or we're good here, you think?
I think I've said everything I needed to say.
I have too. Nuge, Brody, good?
I'm all set, yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much got what I wanted to get out, and like I said, like I just can't express like any more to the people that are listening, just to make sure that like everyone who would have some small minute opinion of what we're going to do, just to at least come on the website for as long as it takes to vote yes or no. Like that's all I'm really asking. So at least when I make a decision about what's going on, I can feel comfortable with the decision I make is in the best interest of the majority of the people who are on this website.
And that's the number one most important thing. So we'll leave it there. Vote early and vote twice or once or however often we're allowed to vote. Make sure you vote. This is LeagueGaming.com, the LGHL Season 19 Town Hall meeting. I am F5 Penguin. You guys can say who you are.
I'm Tristan.
This is Brody. I'm Brody.
And we're going to go stream the golf club. So we'll put up the poll. You guys vote, and we'll see you on the links.
Ciao, guys.